Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our January Outdoor Florida webinar. Just a quick note, this session is being recorded and it will be posted to our website next week. Today, we're excited to welcome Kevin Patton, who has nearly 40 years of experience with the Florida Park Service. Kevin is a highly skilled burn boss, having led 98 prescribed burns and participated in 287 burns overall, including 23 wildfires. His deep knowledge and dedication to Florida's natural resources make him an outstanding leader in outdoor recreation and conservation. After Kevin's presentation, we'll open the floor to a Q&A session. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat at any time and we'll address them at the end. Okay, Kevin, you may begin.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? I've been doing this job here for 40 years now. I started to give you a little information on myself. I started here at Paynes Prairie when I was 18 years old as a seasonal OPS, promoted to a park ranger at Ravine Gardens, and then worked throughout the park service, all in North Florida. I came back to Paynes Prairie as a ranger for 10 years and then promoted into management and went up to Stephen Foster, then worked in the Panhandle up at Ball Point. Managed Gold here Head for 10 years, and now I'm back at Paynes Prairie as a manager, so I've did full circle. Been at Paynes Prairie three different times, so you could say I like the place. The program I'm going to be doing today is a program we put together on mentorship for the RT 300 Burn Boss refresher training. I was not able to give this program because something happened that I couldn't go to the meeting, and one of my employees gave the program, and I think did much better job than I would have. And that's kind of the gist of this program. It's on the impacts of mentorship, and I've accomplished a lot of resource management goals through my career, some pretty significant ones. Um, I did that through other people. I did that through choosing people that were better than me. That's what I try to do. And then give the people opportunities to fly and to learn the skills they need to be successful. And to me, that's much longer lasting than any accomplishment that I could have ever made personally. So we'll go ahead. I'll go to the talk a little bit about some of my mentors and the importance of mentorship. Tom Ledbetter, I worked for Tom Ledbetter here at Paynes Prairie. He was the assistant park manager at Paynes Prairie Preserve State Park, and he was a fire management officer with the Nature Conservancy, his own fire manager um, for the U.S. Forest Service, and an assistant fire manager for Everglades National Park, and an zone manager for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which included all of Florida and Puerto Rico. He was a great mentor to me. I learned a bunch from Tom. Another one of my mentors was Jim Weimer, which was a longtime biologist here at Paynes Prairie. I was a country boy. I come to work with no shoes on one time because I never wore them and I forgot to put them on. So a bit raw to say the least, a bit green. Jim took me under his wing and taught me a lot. Taught me just about everything I know about resource management. Through my career, even after I was a burn boss, I continued to be mentored by other people. John McKenzie was one of my mentors, a great friend of mine. He's assistant bureau chief for the Florida Park Service, for Bureau BNCR, and the planning manager for the Office of Park Planning at one time, District 1 fire management officer, biologist for Pumpkin Hill Creek Preserve, and a biologist for Edward Ball, Wakulla Springs State Park. And although I was already a burn manager, I learned a lot from John, good friends. I still call him for advice sometimes. So you continue to be mentored. I wanted to touch bases on some of my mentors. Another one would be Park Small. Parks has been in the Florida Parks for service for quite a few years. The first time I met Parks, and got to know him real well. We were on a 73,000 acre wildfire, and he was my supervisor. Learned a lot from Parks. Again, as somebody, even after receiving Manager of the Year and 30 years of experience in fire, I still lean on these people to ask questions because you can never know it all. And so having these great mentors has been of great assistance to me in my career. And move along. Um, so mentorship goes both ways, from the top down and the bottom up. I'm continuously learning from the people who work with me and for me. You need to have the right mindset to mentor. The problem with thinking you know everything is you will never learn anything new. And so I'm continually learning from people that work with me and for me and people that have supervised me. So teaching from men, teaching from mentors that I want to continue. Share your greatest successes. I've had a lot of successes through my career. We developed a aerial burn program at Ball Point. It was very successful. And I'm very proud of that. But I did that through other people, working, having great people, a great team, surrounding myself with great people. It was a small team. We got a lot done. We did some great partnerships with Florida Forest Service. It made us very successful there. And I like to talk to people about that, share how we work with our partners, how we took such a small staff and shared resources and used every tool in the box to get the job done. And we went to burning over 1,000 acres a year there with just two permanent staff members at that site. Share your greatest failures. Well, this is one that I really like to talk about, mostly in fire. I've lost two fires in my career. I like to talk to people about that, what happened, what we did wrong, what was the weather parameters, what caused us to fail. That's very important to share those failures because people see that. And maybe one day they're in the same situation and they recognize it before it happens, and it keeps them from failing. Listen to people. Listen to the people around you. This last year, we were burning a zone, and my staff was very uncomfortable with it. I thought we were good. The weather, it was burning really hot, but they weren't comfortable with it. So a good leader listens to the people under them. I called the fire. We stopped burning. And a few weeks later, we tried to burn it again with, you know, way less extreme conditions, and it was really hard to keep that contained. So if I hadn't listened to them, we may have lost that fire that day. Allow people to succeed and fail without your help. Don't allow people to fail catastrophically, but failure is necessary for learning. Um, That's very important to have that mindset, to not micromanage people. Let them fly, let them learn, let them have the successes in any program. And this is not only in a fire program, it's throughout all park management or anything that you're doing. This is great slides here. I'd like to talk about this. This is my crew at Ball Point after I left. And this zone you see burning here, they were burning in an aerial burn. I swung at that zone 3 times, and for one reason or another, we weren't able to get it burned. And so the year after I left, they continued on what I was working on, what they had learned from me, and they were able to get that zone burned. This little photo to the right shows you what happens when you put too much Silvex in your water mix and get too much foam. It's a little bit of comedy. Advocate for training as often as possible. This is so important, and that's something I've been very successful at, is making sure that my staff are well trained. Um, Thinking out of the box to get them the training, finding out ways to fund the training, make those opportunities available when it comes up, share it with your staff, send whoever you can the training. It pays off in the end. Have fun, make the job fun. When I was a park ranger here at Paynes Prairie, I absolutely couldn't wait to get to work every day. I was having so much fun. It was such a great job to have, and I learned so much. So having fun and that desire for the job creates great employees. Think where you find new students of fire or new students of anything we're doing. Say, if you're working in the trail systems or if you're doing exotic removal, park management, anything that we do, think about where we find people to mentor. And of course, there's staff. Um, there's a AmeriCorps program. I've seen, to give you an idea, my assistant park manager was in the AmeriCorps program. My biologist was in the AmeriCorps program. Several of my good employees through the years of Park Service specialists come from the AmeriCorps program. Volunteers. We have some very high quality people volunteering for us. It's a way to also take young people that do not have the experience they need to step into a FTE position with the Florida Park Service. As a volunteer, you can provide that training to them to make them more successful and make them more qualified for positions that they may be interested in. I've seen a lot of people come up through the volunteer program to become FTEs. Sister agencies. We share resources through our agencies and we share employees. I feel like that the Park Service is a training area for many different agencies throughout the state of Florida and throughout the United States. Students, students, if they've invested 4 years in the natural resource management, then they're serious about the job. So this last year, we hired a couple students that didn't have any field experience, but had their degrees in natural resource management. And we put them out in the field as OPS and we trained them to burn. We trained them to do exotic removal. They got hands-on experience and it makes them much more qualified for a position once they decide to apply for a position somewhere. So something I worked with since 2014, a group I've worked with is the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point. This last year, they came and worked with us. In 10 days, we did 11 burns throughout 6 parks and put fire on 1,022 acres. We wouldn't have gotten that done without working with them students. They provided enough labor um, to share through our District 2 burn teams to make it give us an opportunity to burn a lot of different areas at one time. And we were doing 2 or 3 burns in one day at different parks, sharing this crew. So it's approximately 20 students annually for the last 11 years equals 220 fire professionals making a nationwide impact. So think about that impact and that outreach and this little bit of effort that we give for 1 week out of the year of mentoring these students. Think of that impact throughout the nation, throughout our resource management agencies, to the natural resources of not only Florida, but the United States. This is one of my employees that I mentored in the past is assistant director for Ordway Swisher Biological Station at the University of Florida. She trains 116 new firefighters annually. She's bossed over 100 burns. She works with professionals and educators on natural resource management, teaching students from around the world. When this person started, they had very little experience, but a great desire and willingness to learn. This is an example of the reach that just one mentored person has had. Um, when this person came to work with me, I think they had maybe less than 10 burns under their belt. Provided the opportunity for them to learn, provided the opportunity for them to get training, and they did the rest. It's not me, it was that individual. But look at the impact given that person that opportunity has had not only here in Florida and the United States, but worldwide. She recently was working with some fire personnel from Scotland. Think of your individual impact on the resource mission and the things that matter to you. I started as a seasonal worker. I became a park ranger and moved up through the ranks of manager, trying to make a difference everywhere I went. I started consistently burning in 1989 when I came back to Paynes Prairie for the second time. So this is my individual stats. I've been on 36,695 acres of prescribed burns. Um, Total burns is 287. I've been a burn boss on 98 and a line boss on 60 burns. And I've been on 23 wildfires, and just one of those wildfires is 73,000 acres. So um, that's my individual impacts on resource management. I picked 9 individuals that had worked with me in the past. There's been many more, but I'd like to read over some of their stats and their titles and the different agencies they work with. I got to see. There's a person that worked with me that now is a senior asset manager, management administrator of Northwest Water Management District. They've been on over 8,000 acres of prescribed burns, a total of 56 burns. Been a burn boss on 6, line boss on 20, and 9 wildfires. There's a park manager for Florida Park Service. Acres is 23,058 acres. I'm sorry going over these boring numbers, but they're important. Total burns 210, burn boss on 25, line boss on 73, and wildfires 26. It's a park biologist, Florida Park Service. This person had boss 3 burns when they came to me. Um, After working with me for 2 years, they had quadrupled that number. Their acreage is 176,875 acres. Total of 244 burns. They have exceeded me now. They have burned more than me. Burn boss on 60 acres, burn boss on 60 burns, line boss on 67 burns and 23 wildfires. The assistant director for Ordway Swisher, we went over their number. This is just that person's Park Service numbers. They've quadrupled that under the University of Florida now. You got an area manager for Florida Fish and Wildlife Service. I'm not going to go through all these numbers. A land manager for North Florida Land Trust, another park manager, assistant bureau chief for the Florida Park Service, and then a fire and restoration individual for I can't see all the titles, y'all, but it's getting covered up, but for the Nature Conservancy. So there's private agencies and public agencies that these 9 people are working for now. So you look at my individual stats and then look at the stats for these people combined. And this is just a few people that I've worked with through the years. There's been many, many more, but adding their acreage up, it's 366,985 acres, a total of 1,412 burns, burn boss on 307 burns, line boss on 374 burns, and 122 wildfires. So look at that impact from just a few people that went under the mentorship program, our burn mentor. And this is not just for burning. This goes through park management and anything that we do. So look at the impact that training people and giving people the opportunity to learn. Look at that impact compared to what I could have done in my career. This is 40 years of my career compared to just a few years of the 9 people's career. Um, Ecological accomplishments. Sorry, y'all. This lost my phone. Um, so ecological impacts won't last without people. They last a few years at most. The mentorship lasts on and on. It's the only thing that really lasts is the people you influence. I'm much more proud of that than any of my other accomplishments now. So that's all I have. I have been doing this. I put my life and passion into what I do. Again, I received Resource Manager of the Year in 2024. Um, there was 5 resource managers of a year at the little program that they gave me here at the park that I had worked with through the years. So we have an influence on each other and working together and sharing resources and knowledge has had a great impact. To have 5 resource managers of the year that had all worked at Paynes Prairie at one time and had worked together, it speaks for itself. And so very proud of those people that's come up under me. I think they're better than me. I've always tried to choose people that were better than me and then give them the opportunities to get the skills to prove that. And like I said, it's what I'm the most proud of in my career. So open for questions now.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was a very insightful presentation. I don't see any questions that have come into the chat, but if anyone has any, you can either type them in the chat or unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. But a lot of times when we have really informative presentations, it gets all the questions answered during the presentation, which might be what happened here. Um,
Well,
okay.
everybody, I would rather wrestle an alligator than public speaking, but this is so important for me to convey this message of mentorship and the impacts it has on our natural resources and our on our mission in the Florida Park Service. And again, it would go into private industry or to any endeavor that you're taking on to be able to have quality people surrounding you and build a great team and give them that opportunity to learn and to exceed in what you have accomplished is so important. It's the only thing that really lasts.
Yeah, those numbers were really impressive.
And that's just a
Um,
few of the numbers. There's way, way more, which is 9 people that I picked.
yeah, I bet. All right. Well, if there are no questions, we can go
Hey,
ahead and,
Casey,
oh, yeah,
there are two questions in the Q&A and then one in the chat. I don't know if you can see them.
I cannot see them. Are you able to open them?
Yeah, so Leslie asked if you could talk a little bit more, Kevin, on the financial portion of fires and how that overlays with like private landowners, and if you have anything to do with like the financing of fires when you burn.
So yes, we have a regular park budget that we work out of, and then each district usually has money funds that are set aside for fire management, and so we can ask for that. But for instance, when I was at Ball Point, we were working on a very small budget, and we didn't have the budget to get some of the equipment and stuff that I needed to get the job done. So I quickly um, formed a partnership with the Florida Forest Service with Tate Hill that was adjacent to Ball Point, and then we worked together so much we were like family. And they had things that I didn't have. They had bulldozers and helicopters and things I needed to manage. Ball Point had areas that hadn't had fire in 30 years. It was a coastal scrubby flat woods with a subdivision built in the middle of it, which was very scary. So I needed that equipment and that extra funding to be able to get the job done safely. So instead of just going, well, they won't give it to me or it's not available, I went out of the box, went and formed a partnership with the Division of Forestry, and they actually come in. It was a Division of Forestry at that time. It's Florida Forest Service now. I actually had them come in and do some aerial burns when we would do partnerships and training new aerial ignition device operators. And I would get the burning done for free. They would not, they would count it as training. It's what having that great partnership and thinking out of the box and working together and sharing resources. That's, even when you don't have the funding, if you are determined to get something done and you look at different ways to get it done, um, you can get it done. And that's kind of the way I've worked with the funding that I needed for burning. But there's, been a lot of money for fire. There's grants, partnerships, there's mitigation, um, grants with the Florida Forest Service, a bunch of different ways to get it done. I hope that answered the question.
All right. I do see another one that popped into the chat. It says, do you have an official mentorship program or is it informal?
Well, we've had both. We do have some official mentorship programs. Most of it's within park management, and there is some in the fire program as well. But most of mine has just been um, seeing someone that has the desire to learn and giving them the opportunities, um, recognizing talent, um, I had one employee that didn't think that they had the skill to do fire. They were scared of it. Started working with me when they were 19 years old. I realized that person was super intelligent, worked real hard, and I'm like, well, we can teach you this stuff you're afraid of. Now they are a burn boss, have over 100 burns under their belt, and is a real leader in fire in our district. Um, so not a real official mentorship program with me. It's just recognizing people that would benefit from the program and people that would benefit the program both, and choosing those people and give them the opportunities to learn. And it's not only the fire program, it's been park management. I think the last park managers meeting I went to, there was 8 park managers that had worked for me there at one time or another. And that's just park managers. That's not including assistant park managers.
Alrighty, and then I see one more that says, we have been seeing a lot of billowing smoke in the South Tallahassee area. Not everyone watches the news these days. Is there a way that a burn is communicated to the public?
So Division of Forestry has a website that you can go to and it'll show you where all the prescribed burns are. But you also have the U.S. Forest Service there and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So that area is consistently having fire applied to the forest areas there. And if you get a chance, go out there and look at, Apalachicola National Forest. It's got some of the best, longleaf pine forests left in the world. That system used to stretch from southern Virginia to East Texas, and the biggest part left's right there around Tallahassee now. There's about 3% of that original habitat left, and so without fire, it disappears. So those agencies are continually using prescribed fire to maintain that ecosystem. When you burn, you get a higher diversity in plant and animal life. And everything in Florida is either fire dependent or fire adapted, with the exception of a few areas or hammock, but most of it's some sort of pond lands, and without fire, they disappear. We've really altered the way Florida looks just because we're people. We started doing that in the 1500s, and so what the Spanish would have seen when they came into Florida is a lot different from what most of us are seeing now. Most of it was a sparse cover of ponds, longleaf ponds or South Florida / ponds with a grassy savanna under it. And that's why we ruled the cattle industry for so many years.
Alrighty, and there's actually one more. If a high school senior wanted to shadow someone in one of these roles for a day, what would be the best way or the best contact to do that?
So I would approach our local parks. They have to, you have to have parental consent up to a certain age to be able to volunteer. Um, but I would approach one of the local parks that has a good burn program, tell them what the student's desire is, what they want to learn, or if it's just park service management in general or park operations. And I would sign them up as a volunteer. That's a great way to get experience. There's also the AmeriCorps program after they graduate and join the AmeriCorps program, and there's a lot of different um, opportunities. The Florida Park Service has our own. We took over the AmeriCorps program after the federal funding went away, but there's a lot of different things you can do in the AmeriCorps that specialize. Some of it specializes in volunteerism. Most of it specializes in exotic plant removal, but we use them mainly for that, but they learn the overall operations while working with us. So that's a great way for a young person to get those skills and abilities they need to be competitive in this type of work, which we do some very, very unique stuff. And it's hard to get skills and abilities in setting the woods on fire because that's illegal most places you go. And it's hard to get skills and abilities of doing, school programs and all these unique things we do. So volunteering or the AmeriCorps program is a great avenue to get these skills for young people.
Okay, sorry, there's more coming in. When you say you lost a wildfire, what does that mean, if you don't mind sharing?
or when I lost a prescribed fire. So that means that had picked an area to burn, and we were burning that area, and it escaped out of that area and got into a place where I didn't want it. And so I've had a couple of those. I've had one that was at Ball Point, and I had one escape out of a zone there that we had burned the area downwind of it 4 months before, and I was under the impression that we burned up all the fuel and it would not burn. But I learned something new that day that I didn't know as much as I thought I did. It escaped into that area we had burned previously and continued to burn it again. And we were able to suppress it, and it didn't get off our property, but it was not the desired result. So that's when you lose a prescribed fire. It's not a wildfire until it escapes. That's when it becomes a wildfire. Um, Not all wildfires are escape prescribed fires, of course. You have lightning strikes and arson and a lot of different reasons. But so I've lost one at Ball Point, and I lost one here at Paynes Prairie where it burned through one of our natural barrier that we thought that would hold it because it's usually wet, and it burned through it. And again, we were able to catch that fire. Um, I had to write about my most difficult burn in my career for an article, and I didn't pick those two escapes. I picked one that didn't escape, that it was really hard to keep from escaping all day one day, just because to me there was more of a lesson in that one than the escaped one. So that's why I wrote about that.
There was someone that was wondering how a layperson can help volunteer with fires.
So they can come into a park. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but there is specific training that the division requires for people to be able to safely participate in prescribed burning. It's S-130, S-190, and I-100 courses that are done through, and those courses are available through different agencies. We teach them. We provide the Division of Forestry provides training for that. There's some online stuff you can do to that. It does have a field day where you have to participate in fire, but those trainings are available. Volunteer fire departments give them for free sometimes. There's a lot of different ways you can get the training. And then you have to be able to have the ability to pass a moderate pack test, which is you have to be able to walk 2 miles in less than 30 minutes carrying 25-pound pack on your back, and you can't run. That's what makes it hard, is because that's a pretty brisk walk. It's like a 4 mile an hour walk, and you have to be able to do those things. But the volunteer opportunities to burn are there. We have enough staff to get the job done, but having more is better than not having enough. So we try to encourage people to participate in the burn program. Um, and so volunteers are definitely welcome. And the way you get the skill is participating. And so going out to a park, volunteering, or maybe getting a seasonal job that's focused on fire, that's the way to get that experience.
All right. And that is all for the questions. And thank you so much for the presentation today, Kevin. It looks
All right.
like you got a lot
Sorry,
of information. Huh?
something was blocking some of my text, so I had to make it up. So I apologize. Okay.
Well, it worked. I learned a bunch, and I'm sure everyone else did too.
Well, thank
So,
y'all. I agreed to do this because I thought it was so important to convey this message. It's not my forte for public speaking. I can do it if I have to, but it's not what I like to do the most. But this is such an important subject. I wanted to do this, and I'm not going to do this forever. I have 40 years in, but I want this, what we do, to continue. It is so important. And to have those young people coming up that get the mission and get that message and continue on with what we do is what's going to last. So that's why I agreed to do this. And thank y'all for listening to me. And everybody have a great day. I hope I
yeah,
answered your questions.
thank you so much, Kevin, and thank you to everyone who joined. And next month, we're going to hear from Brooks White, recreation specialist with the Florida Forest Service, on trail programs gone digital. If anyone has any questions or would like to present in a future webinar, please email us at Office of Greenways and Trails at floridadep.gov. Thank you again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day, everybody.